Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
It's a new year.
It is a new year. It's 2025. Can you believe it?
That's wild, and we're going to be diving into some fascinating stuff as always.
Absolutely, and kicking off 2025 with a look at all the brand new laws hitting the books around the world.
Yeah, we've got new legislation from the U.S. to Australia to Europe, even Thailand.
Okay, so it's like a legal world tour.
It is.
What's the so what for our listeners?
You know, laws are really a reflection of what societies value and fear and what they're trying to change.
Mm-hmm.
So these new laws are kind of like a roadmap to the future.
Ooh, I like that. A roadmap, okay.
Yeah, they show us where we're headed, what issues are taking center stage.
Okay, so where does this roadmap lead us first?
Well, our first stop is the U.S., where a lot of states are rolling out new laws aimed at making roads safer.
Yeah, I saw a lot of headlines about cracking down on drivers, especially in Colorado and California.
Yeah, they tend to be.
It feels like those states are always at the forefront of this type of thing.
Yeah, they often are. You know, in Colorado, for example, they're really tightening the screws on express lane violations.
Oh, really?
We're talking hefty fines.
Yeah.
Starting at $75 and jumping to $150 if you don't pay up quickly.
Wow, $150 for weaving in and out of the express lane?
Yeah.
That's going to hit some people's wallets hard.
It's definitely a strong message. And, you know, it's not just about generating revenue for the state either.
Okay.
Colorado's Department of Transportation has been collecting data showing a pretty significant increase in accidents and near misses related to express lane misuse. So these stricter fines are part of a larger effort to try to reduce congestion and improve safety.
Okay, so it's not just about punishing drivers. It's about addressing a real problem.
Exactly.
Okay, but won't this just push people to avoid the express lanes altogether, creating more congestion elsewhere?
That's a valid concern. It's possible that we'll see some unintended consequences, you know, like increased traffic on the regular lanes. But the hope is that the combination of the fines and public awareness campaigns will lead to a shift in driver behavior.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Right.
But Colorado's not just focused on express lanes.
Right. They're also implementing a complete ban on handheld devices while driving.
Okay.
No more texting, no more scrolling.
So you literally can't even hold your phone while you're behind the wheel.
Exactly.
That seems like a no-brainer, but let's be honest. How many of us are guilty of sneaking a quick glance at our phones while stopped at a red light?
Probably more than we'd like to admit.
Probably.
But that's precisely why this law is important. You know, it sends a clear message that any form of distraction while driving is unacceptable. And remember, this is happening against the backdrop of a larger trend toward automated driving.
That's true.
You know, as we move closer to a future with self-driving cars,
Right.
it's crucial to establish really clear rules and expectations for human drivers.
It makes you wonder, will these laws even be relevant in a few years when everyone's cruising around in self-driving cars?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's possible that some of these laws will eventually become obsolete.
Yeah.
But for now, they serve an important purpose,
Right.
reminding us that driving is a privilege, not a right, and we have a responsibility to share the road safely.
Well said. So we've talked about road safety in the U.S., but what other legal landscapes are we exploring on this world tour?
Next, we're heading across the globe to look at how countries are tackling a very different kind of challenge, data privacy.
Data privacy. That feels like a topic that's constantly in the news.
It is, and for good reason. We generate just an astounding amount of data every single day, and how that data is collected, stored, and used has become a major concern.
Yeah.
Both the EU and Texas are rolling out significant new legislation to protect personal data.
It's interesting that you mentioned Texas alongside the EU.
Yeah.
I tend to think of the EU as being much more progressive on data privacy issues.
You're right. The EU has generally been a leader in data protection.
Right.
But what's fascinating is that we're seeing other countries like the US starting to catch up.
So what are these new laws actually doing to protect our data?
They're giving individuals more control over their personal information.
Okay.
For example, they're strengthening requirements for consent, meaning companies can't just collect and use your data without your explicit permission.
Okay.
They're also giving individuals the right to access, correct, or even delete their data.
So I could actually tell a company to delete all the data they have on me.
In many cases, yes.
Wow.
These laws are putting the power back in the hands of individuals.
That's empowering.
It is.
It feels like we're finally starting to take data privacy seriously.
We are, and it's not just happening in the West. Even Thailand is getting involved.
Interesting.
Albeit in a slightly different way. They're implementing a global minimum corporate tax.
Wait, a corporate tax, how does that relate to data privacy?
So it's all about preventing companies from dodging taxes and regulations by shifting their profits and operations to countries with lower standards.
All right.
Some companies were exploiting loopholes to avoid stricter data privacy regulations in places like the EU.
Oh, I see.
This new global minimum tax helps level the playing field and ensures that companies contribute their fair share regardless of where they operate.
That's really clever. So it's not just about protecting our data within our own borders. It's about creating a global standard for data privacy.
Exactly. It's a recognition that data flows across borders,
Right.
and we need international cooperation to effectively protect people's privacy.
This is all really fascinating, but I have to admit, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Is there any way to simplify this?
Sure.
What's the key takeaway here for our listeners?
The key takeaway is that the world is waking up to the importance of data privacy.
Okay.
We're seeing a global movement towards giving individuals more control over their personal information and holding companies accountable for how they collect and use that data. And this is just the beginning. We can expect even more developments in this area in the years to come.
Okay, so buckle up, because the data privacy train is leaving the station.
I like that.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at some of the other intriguing new laws that are coming into effect this year.
Sounds good. Next, we'll delve into some innovative legal approaches to tackling specific modern problems.
Okay.
Problems that I think a lot of people will be surprised about. Yeah, so from data privacy, we kind of shift our focus to, how lawmakers are getting creative in tackling very specific problems.
Yeah, when I was looking through the research for this episode, some of these laws really surprised me. Like, who would have thought hairdressers could play a role in combating domestic violence?
It's a really fascinating example of thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Illinois is implementing a program that trains hairdressers to recognize the signs of domestic abuse
Wow.
and provides them with resources to help their clients.
So it's not about turning hairdressers into therapists or law enforcement,
Right.
but about giving them the tools to be supportive and connect their clients with the help they need.
Exactly. It leverages the trust and intimacy that often exists between hairdressers and their clients.
Yeah. Right.
Hairdressers are in a unique position to notice changes in behavior or appearance that might signal a problem.
It makes you think, what other everyday interactions could we leverage in this way?
Yeah.
Baristas, librarians. The possibilities are endless.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a safer society.
Absolutely. And speaking of safety, California is taking a tough stance on a different kind of problem, organized retail theft.
Right. They're implementing a new law that allows charges to be aggregated across counties. So if someone is caught with over $950 worth of stolen goods from multiple stores, they could be facing felony charges.
Wow, felony charges for shoplifting. That seems like a major escalation.
It reflects a growing concern about the impact of organized retail crime. It's not just about individual shoplifters anymore. We're seeing sophisticated criminal networks targeting stores and reselling stolen goods online.
So it's not just about the financial losses. It's about disrupting these criminal enterprises.
Exactly. And California isn't alone in taking this issue seriously. We're seeing similar legislation being proposed in other states as well.
It's interesting how these new laws often reflect broader societal anxieties. We see concerns about data privacy leading to new data protection laws, worries about road safety, driving stricter traffic regulations, and anxieties about crime, fueling tougher penalties.
It's a keen observation. Laws are often a mirror, reflecting the fears and values of a society at a given moment in time.
Okay, so we've covered some pretty heavy topics. Road safety, data, privacy, organized crime.
It is a new year.
Can we lighten things up a bit?
Yeah, let's line it up.
Are there any new laws that give us a reason to smile?
As a matter of fact, there are. Let's shift our focus from anxieties to aspirations, starting with a law that's sure to be popular with anyone who's ever felt tethered to their work phone.
Oh.
Portugal's right to disconnect law.
Oh, this one caught my eye. Tell us more about it.
Essentially, it gives employees the legal right to disconnect from work outside of work hours.
Okay.
That means employers can't pressure employees to answer emails, take calls, or engage in any work-related activities during their personal time.
So no more guilt-tripping emails from your boss at 10 p.m.
Exactly.
Yes! Sign me up.
It's about setting boundaries and protecting employees' mental health and well-being.
I imagine some employers might push back against this, arguing that it hinders productivity or makes it harder to respond to urgent matters.
There's certainly potential for friction,
Yeah.
but the law also encourages employers and employees to work together to establish clear communication protocols and expectations around after-hours contact.
It seems like this law recognizes that the line between work and life has become increasingly blurred, especially with the rise of remote work and constant connectivity.
Absolutely. And Portugal isn't alone in addressing this issue. We're seeing similar right to disconnect laws being discussed and implemented in other countries as well.
It's a sign of the times, isn't it? We're starting to realize that being always on isn't sustainable in the long run.
Yeah, it's about finding a healthy balance between work and life.
And speaking of balance, let's talk about another trend we're seeing reflected in new laws around the world, the growing concern for sustainability.
Right. From green roofs in Germany to bans on engineered stone in Australia.
Wow.
Countries are taking diverse approaches to address the environmental and social impacts of our choices.
I read that Germany is now mandating green roofs or solar panels on all new buildings. That seems like a pretty radical step.
It's ambitious, but it reflects a growing recognition that we need to rethink how we design and build our cities.
Yeah.
Green roofs, for example, not only help reduce energy consumption, but also provide numerous environmental benefits,
Oh.
such as mitigating stormwater runoff and improving air quality.
It's like turning our cities into mini ecosystems.
Exactly. And then you have Australia taking a strong stance against engineered stone.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that Australia is banning engineered stone. Why is that?
So engineered stone, which is often used for countertops and other building materials, contains high levels of silica dust.
Okay.
Exposure to this dust has been linked to a serious lung disease called silicosis.
So it's a worker safety issue.
Primarily, yes. The ban recognizes that protecting the health of workers is paramount,
Right.
even if it means disrupting established industries.
It makes you wonder what other hidden dangers are lurking in our homes and workplaces.
That's a question worth pondering, and it highlights the importance of ongoing research and regulation to ensure that the materials we use are safe for both people and the planet.
Okay, so we've got Germany promoting sustainable urban design and Australia prioritizing worker safety. What other global trends are we seeing in the realm of sustainability?
Well, Australia is also tackling another pressing issue, affordable housing.
Oh, right. I read about that they're implementing an Airbnb tax, right?
Yes, in Victoria, they're introducing a 7.5% levy on property owners who rent out multiple short-term accommodations.
I imagine that's not going over well with Airbnb hosts.
There's certainly been pushback, but the government argues that the tax is necessary to address the housing affordability crisis in cities where short-term rentals are driving up prices and squeezing out long-term residents.
It's a classic case of competing interests, isn't it? Trying to balance the economic benefits of tourism with the needs of local communities.
Exactly, and finding that balance is becoming increasingly challenging as cities around the world grapple with similar issues.
So we've seen how countries are addressing sustainability from different angles, promoting eco-friendly building practices, protecting worker health, and even regulating the sharing economy. It's a reminder that sustainability is a multifaceted issue that requires a holistic approach.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. Each country and region must find its own path based on its unique circumstances and priorities.
Well, I have to say, this legal world tour has been quite an eye-opener. We've covered so much ground, from cracking down on drivers in Colorado, to empowering hairdressers in Illinois, to championing the right to disconnect in Portugal.
It's been a journey.
And we've seen how these seemingly disparate laws reflect broader global trends, like the push for data privacy and the growing concern for sustainability.
It's a fascinating tapestry, isn't it?
It really is. But amidst all these big picture issues, I'm curious to know, are there any new laws that focus specifically on animal welfare?
As a matter of fact, there is one that's particularly noteworthy.
You mentioned a new law focusing on animal welfare?
Yes, South Korea has enacted a historic ban on dog meat.
Really?
It's a major victory for animal rights activists who've been campaigning for this for years.
Wow, that's huge. South Korea is known for its dog meat trade, so this must be a significant cultural shift.
It is, and it reflects a growing global awareness of animal sentience and the ethical implications of our food choices.
I wonder what prompted this change. Was it pressure from international organizations or a shift in public opinion within South Korea?
It seems to be a combination of factors. There's been increasing pressure from animal welfare groups worldwide.
Yeah.
But there's also been a noticeable shift in attitudes within South Korea itself, especially among younger generations.
Interesting.
More and more people are seeing dogs as companions rather than livestock.
It's heartwarming to see these kinds of changes happening. It gives me hope that we're moving towards a more compassionate world.
I agree. It shows that cultural norms can evolve, and what was once considered acceptable can become unthinkable over time.
This deep dive has been fascinating, but I have to admit, it's a little overwhelming to think about all these new laws and what they mean for the future.
It's a lot to process. But remember, these laws are a reflection of who we are as a global society. They tell us what we value, what we fear, and what we aspire to.
That's a great point. So what does this all mean for our listeners?
Right.
Why should they care about these new laws, even the ones that might seem far removed from their daily lives?
Laws shape our world.
Wow.
They influence how we live, how we work, how we interact, and even how we think.
Okay.
By understanding these new laws, we gain insight into the forces that are shaping our future.
It's like holding up a mirror to society, isn't it?
Exactly. And it empowers us to participate in the conversation.
Hmm.
We can ask ourselves, do these laws align with our own values? Are they addressing the issues that matter most to us?
Right.
And if not, what changes would we like to see?
So it's not just about being informed, it's about being engaged.
Precisely. Don't be a passive observer. Engage with your community advocate for the changes you want to see and be part of shaping the future.
On that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the new laws of 2025. It's been a whirlwind tour of legal landscapes, from express lane crackdowns to dog meat bans. But more importantly, it's been an exploration of the values and forces that are shaping our world.
We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity. Remember, laws are a starting point, not an end point. The real work begins with understanding, engaging, and advocating for the changes that matter most to you.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better future. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.